Madam Pasaris comes from Nairobi. When she came up with this motion, I'm sure she must have gone to Kibera, to Madare, to Kawangware, to all the low-income areas where people are really deprived. But the problem is, if you are going to give this responsibility to Jogo House, even the many who are going to school today will not be able to go there. Sometimes we sit around, we think that everybody has access to smartphone. Everybody can access application of a bursary. Many do not have any idea where the member of parliament offices are, let alone trying to apply bursary at the national level. The advantage of what is happening today, if we members of parliament are diligent, whether ANGAF or NGCDF, is for the two of us to put our heads together so that in collaboration we are able to coordinate so that there's no duplication. There's this thing called presidential bursary. Why is it necessary? Who at that level, at the ministry level, knows the people of Manyatajilo in Saku constituency? How many households are there? Who are the poorest of the poor? So for that reason, we cannot abrogate our responsibilities to somebody else who we know he will be unable to achieve that. In Nairobi, the issue of school feeding. Now the county is taking over. What has happened with the ministry? So with those few remarks,
thank you very much, Member for Saku. The Honorable Janet CTNA, Member for Tarbo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice. Madam Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Pasaris for bringing this motion, which has good intent, but I stand to oppose the consolidation of the funds because it will be unfair to very many needy students. Decentralizing these funds was the best thing that ever happened to assist the very needy students in this country. And that is why we have the various kitties that support the needy students in the ground. The NGCDF, the NGAF, the county fund, all of them touch the people on the ground. And if you look at it closely, you will realize that the NGCDF system reaches the very, very villages in the way the bursaries are given to the students. They are able to reach the villages and be able to identify who are these very needy students in those villages in every sub-county. Madam Speaker, what will happen to those students that are in the middle colleges? How will they be supported, the very needy students? Whereas we are talking about basic education ministry taking over this, consolidating the fund and giving out free primary education. What will happen to the middle colleges, where we have very needy students that need us to identify on the ground, because we are the people on the ground. The MCS, the MPs, the women reps are the ones who can actually identify who are these people in the villages. Using the village elders, we are able to reach those very needy students to afford an education. Madam Speaker, basic education is free in this country. We only need to add, increase capitation to these institutions and ensure there is efficient, effective management of these funds to be able to provide an education for every primary school child, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the ministry also do not have the capacity to reach to the ground and be able to identify the very needy students who need to be supported by this fund, Madam Speaker. So I stand to oppose. Let those kitties work as they are. We only need to harmonize the way we do in our various areas. That what the MP has, when a student benefits from the NGCDF kitty, then another student will benefit from the MCA kitty. Another different student, needy student, will benefit from the county government kitty. So, Madam Speaker, this has been the best way to be able to give bursaries to those very needy students. So, Madam Speaker, coordination is key, and maybe increasing capitation to the Ministry for Basic Education to be able to provide free primary education. But this fund, if it has to be consolidated, then it should be consolidated and put into NGCDF kitty for it to be dispersed to the very needy students. Because like my colleagues have said, there is nowhere this NGCDF bursary fund has not reached within the locations, within the villages. So, Madam Speaker, I oppose and stand that those kitties remain as they were. The only thing we need to do is ensure there is capitation from the Ministry of Basic Education is enhanced and it is efficiently utilized for purposes of free primary education, Madam Speaker, and I stand to oppose. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Tarbo. The Honorable Raphael Wanjala, Member for Budalangi. Kindly pass the mic to the Honorable Member for Budalangi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute on this very, very extremely important motion. Madam Speaker, education is equalizer. If you ask these honorable members in which families they are coming from, each one of them has a history to tell. How they grew up, how they came up, and what they were doing. But because of education, it has helped them to be where they are today. Even if some of them were coming from poor families, even if some of them were coming from rich families, today they are earning same salary, they enjoy same privileges, they know how to live amongst each other because of education. They know how to communicate. Even if they go to Europe, they know how to live with each other, how to talk and how to address others, and how to associate. That is because of education. So education is key in each one of us life, because that is what equalizes us to be what we are supposed to be. Madam Speaker, education as enshrined in our Constitution is a right. And when something is inscribed in our Constitution as a right that cannot be varied, then let it remain a right for each one of our young children to access it without any hindrance. And that is why I want to congratulate Madam Passaris for this motion. And Madam Speaker, when I was in school, there were no bursaries. And we know what we suffered from as we came from poor families. And that's why I'm saying each one of us here has a history and where they have come from. But Madam Speaker, today bursaries are being abused. How are they being abused? Is that you find there is presidential bursary. Now, Mr. President from State House does not know which child is poor to be given that money. Other people are sent. the people who are sent have interests wherever they are. Today, you will find an MCA is giving bursary. Higher education is not developed. Why is an MCA giving bursary? Governor is giving bursary. Higher education is not developed. Why is a governor giving bursary? That is why you find Honorable Zamzam saying, if the governor of Mombasa got 600 million to distribute to students within that county, how many constituencies do we have? If we have 4, if we have 5, if we have 6, that means each constituency will get 100 million. Madam Speaker, 100 million alone is enough for that constituency, for every student to go to school without any problem. But you will find, as he has given 600, MP has given maybe 40, MCA has given his, President has given his, Governor has given his, Women Rep is telling you she also gave hers. This is a lot of money that is going to waste, and most of them, sometimes it's embezzled. How is it embezzled? Some people will fill those forms, take to schools, collude with the bursars, and money is sent to those schools as if they are paying for the students. And later they will come and collect this money. That is why we are in support that today we need to consolidate, to amalgamate all this money that is dismembered in various offices.
Thank you, Member for Budalangi. The Honorable Jackson Leku Montare, Member for Samburu East. Your time is over. We go to the Member for Samburu East. He has been waiting.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving this chance to contribute. Madam Speaker.
Order, Member for Budalangi. You have contributed. You have done very well. I don't know why you are shouting. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, education in Kenya is very costly. Madam Speaker, we have been giving bursaries, and every other office which has that role to give bursary, we have been giving bursaries. But Madam Speaker, what is the cost of one child to go through the education system? The bursary we have, Madam Speaker, and even though the bursary with the governors and every other person does not amount to the cost of educating one learner. And Madam Speaker, the worst thing we can do as a parliament is to take the money we have to the Ministry of Education. It is not practical, Madam Speaker, for us to take the bursary to be accessed from the Ministry of Education, which even members of parliament, we are not accessing what is there. So, Madam Speaker, the very important thing we have to do is to increase the bursary so that we will be able to fund the education of our children properly. What we lack, because even if you look at what the governors are giving, maybe a student can get 15,000 plus the 10,000 even from the MP. That is 25,000. But what you are supposed to give is more than 100,000, Madam Speaker. The Gov bursary is very little. In fact, very few students will get the Gov bursary. So I think the right thing we have to do is to increase the bursary so that we will be able to meet a cost which is required. Madam Speaker, even the capitation is not reaching properly because there are a lot of delays, and even the ministry, by the way, they will tell us, even when we ask, money is in school, but you just inquire from the principals, money has never been released. So I think as a house or a parliament, if there are other money that we have to add to the bursary so that we will be able to pay, that is the best thing. And Madam Speaker, as members of parliament, if maybe even asked to release what we have, our children will learn without being asked any other contribution, we are more than willing. But this is not enough. The capitation plus what we have, even the CS education answered us here, because somebody asked, if we release all the bursary we have to Ministry of Education, is it enough for our children to learn freely? But the answer was no. So I think we are not getting it right to say, let this bursary go to the education, Ministry of Education, because it will not be free. And I think that is the whole thing. We have to increase the bursary so that we will be able to meet the needs of our students. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I oppose this.
The Honorable Kathambi Chepkwony, member for Njoro.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for granting me this moment for me to do contribution. Let me start by saying that Honorable Pasari sent an idea, but at the moment it cannot work. And that's why, Madam Speaker, I wish to oppose it seriously because of these reasons. Madam Speaker, right now, being a member of parliament from a single constituency, we still have a lot of challenge from even the Ministry of Education itself. Madam Speaker, the amount of money which is called infrastructure funds in the ministry, the distribution in this country, it is purely unfair. Madam Speaker, sometimes you get some constituencies getting funding for infrastructure from the ministry, but you don't get as a single constituency. Therefore, Madam Speaker, if I can sit in this parliament and support that there is consolidation of funds so that it can be taken to the Department of Basic Education Department, it will be purely unfair for the poor children in this country. Madam Speaker, through my experience, this is my second term in Njoro constituency, having been elected. What we do as single constituency members of parliament, the ministry cannot even afford to do it. We make sure that in every village, Madam Speaker, we know the poor child from that one specific ministry. If today, Madam Speaker, even accessing some, many of the projects we are requesting from the ministries hard, how can they, on this earth, honestly, that ensure that if the money was to be consolidated and they were to get it, if it could be fair for the children? Madam Speaker, it will be very hard. The first thing here, Madam Speaker, the ministry itself actually have no capacity to identify those poor children. Madam Speaker, the ministry will get what we call the burden of proof for the poor child in the villages. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I'm standing to say that if today we can sit in this parliament and we say that the GAF funds, the NGCDA funds is consolidated, it is taken back to the ministry, Madam Speaker, that would be very wrong. And why am I saying that, Madam Speaker? It is because there will be unfairness to the poor children. And Madam Speaker, I'm happy today that you are seated there and you are single constituency member of parliament like myself, and we know actually what we undergo in our respective constituencies. Therefore, Madam Speaker, even the proposal of this one of collapsing all the bursary schemes, it will make it very hard for our poor children to access education. And why, Madam Speaker, I take it very seriously to protect bursary in this country, it is because the funds we have given to the poor children in our villages has given them a level to sit like even also the able students in this country, therefore bringing away, proposing that we consolidate the funds. Madam Speaker, there will be a lot of cries in this country. And Madam Speaker, you have also experienced, most of us single constituency members of parliament, lately, even after the court declaration of NCDF nullification, Madam Speaker, it has also brought a lot of thorny issues in the country. Kenyans are worried. Are the poor children going to access education if we are really encountering all this? And Madam Speaker, it is good to say this. Let us not every minute propose scientific texting things in these countries. Let us not collapse what is working for this country. Madam Speaker, the 290 constituencies, the amount of money members of parliament are giving to the poor children, if it can be collapsed, it will bring more pain to the poor children. Therefore, I oppose for now. I think let us improve the systems which can make.
Thank you, Member for Njoro. I'll go to the Honorable Mishimboko, Member for Likoni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nasimama kuzungumzia hoja hii ambayo imeletwa na Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris, na niseme nimeona ya kwamba lengo lake limekuwa lengo bora ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba watoto wetu wanaweza kupata elimu vile inavyofaa. Lakini nataka nizungumzie ya kwamba hoja hii iliyoletwa, ikiwa hatutaiangalia kimakini, tutarudi kule nyuma tulikokuwa. Kwanza kabisa tujiulize, kwa nini taifa letu limechukua mbinu ya ugatuzi? Taifa letu lilichukua mbinu ya ugatuzi kwa sababu hapo awali ilipokuwa fedha zote zinawekwa pale juu, ilikuwa ni changamoto kubwa kuhakikisha ya kwamba Wakenya wengi kule mashinani wanaweza kufikiwa na fedha hizi ndiposa waweze kupata elimu. Nikiangalia hiyo miaka ya nyuma, kabla hatujakuwa na vitengo vya fedha hizi za NGCDF, fedha hizi za NGAF na fedha hizi zikipitia katika kaunti zetu zile 47, tunaangalia ya kwamba kulikuwa hakuna usawa katika upande wa kielimu. Haswa nikiangalia zile sehemu ambazo tunasema ni sehemu zilizotengwa ama ni sehemu za wachache, tukiangalia haswa katika mambo ya kielimu, tuliona ya kwamba sehemu zile hazikuwa zinapata usawa katika zile fedha za kielimu. Na wale waliokuwa kabla ya sisi waliposema ya kwamba hizi fedha zishuke mashinani, pale chini mashinani, mbunge ambaye yuko katika eneo bunge atajua wanafunzi katika eneo bunge lake, na atajua wale ambao pia wana changamoto, ambao ni maskini, ambao wana shida, wana uhaba wa fedha, ataweza kuwaleta karibu na kuweza kupata fedha zile. Fedha hizi zinapopelekwa katika akaunti ile ya juu ya kitaifa, tunajiuliza wale watu walioko chini mashinani wataweza kuzifikia vipi? Leo hii Mkenya anaweza kuja katika ofisi ya mbunge na aweze kuomba basari, anaweza kwenda katika ofisi ya kaunti aweze kuomba basari, na ofisi ya yule ambaye tunamuita mjumbe katika ile kaunti anaweza kufikiwa pale. Je, fedha hizi zikiwa pale juu, huyu Mkenya aliye chini, aliye mlala hoi, aliye maskini ataweza kufika vipi? Tujiulize, hizi fedha ambao kwa Kiingereza tunasema capitation ama fedha zinazowekewa kila mwanafunzi, tumekuwa na changamoto ngapi? Tumekuwa na changamoto nyingi sana, ambapo shule nyingi sana zimekuwa hazipati fedha hizi, na wakipata wanapata kuchelewa ama wanapata robo ama nusu ya fedha hizi. Hiyo ni changamoto jambo moja. Changamoto ya pili, kuna fedha zile za muundo misingi ambazo zinatoka kwa wizara. Mimi sasa hivi ukiniuliza, shule zangu nyingi hazipati fedha hizo. Nimekuwa nikifuatilia, nikienda kwa wizara, nikiandika mabarua, nikiteta, lakini napata fedha zile siwezi kuzipata. Na pia fedha zile zinatolewa kisiasa. Iwapo wewe pengine utasikizana na yule waziri ama uko katika serikali, utaweza kuzipata. Ikiwa wewe uko katika upinzani, mara nyingi sana unaenda unazungumza, husikizwi na hakuna kinachofanyika. Nataka niambie wabunge wenzangu, tusirudi kule kwenye changamoto ambazo tulikuwa tunazipata. Sisi wenyewe tunakaa na Wakenya wetu pale mashinani, tunawajua, tunawafahamu, tunajua changamoto zao, ndiposa tunaweza kuwapatia hizi basari. Hata tukisema tuziunganishe zote, ziwekwe pale juu, hazitafidia kuweza kupeleka katika mashule yetu yote yaliyoko. Ukumbuke, tuna shule za umma, tuna pia zile shule za kibinafsi, lakini zote zinasoma watoto wetu, sisi kama Wakenya na sisi kama viongozi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme, sisi jukumu la kufanya ni kuweka utaratibu mzuri unaofaa. Tuseme kwa mfano, ikiwa fedha ya county itasimamia koleji na zile university, basi fedha za mjumbe ziweze kuangalia shule za upili, na pengine fedha zile za yule mjumbe katika county ziweze kuangalia pengine zile shule maalum, na fedha zile ambazo zinaletwa na kiongozi wa kina mama. Kuna shule maalum, shule za watoto ambao hawaoni, shule ambazo wana ulemavu na shule zile maalum. Hizo ndio njia, tukae chini tufikirie, je, tutazipeleka vipi ndio isiwe mwanafunzi mmoja amefuata fedha zote hizo na wengine wengi wamekosa. Lakini kusema tunaziregesha pale juu, sisi tutakuwa tunapata shida sana. Itakuwa ni omba, kila siku unashinda omba, uingie ofisi hino, utoke ofisi hino, umpige huyu simu, apende awe amependa ametaka ndio uletewe. Hatutarudi huko, tulitoka huko.
Asante Mheshimiwa Mishi Mboko. The Honorable Abdul Haro, Mandera South. And thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I'll start by thanking Honorable Esther Passaris for this motion on comprehensive reform of education bursary schemes to ensure free basic education in Kenya. And from the word go, I would want to say that I oppose this motion, and for the reasons that follow. Honorable Speaker, I would like to draw the attention of everybody to the prayers in this, the prayer in this motion. The prayer says, now therefore this House urges that the government, through the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the relevant stakeholders, undertakes a comprehensive overhaul of the education bursary systems with a view of collapsing all bursary schemes and allocating the funds to State Department of Basic Education for provision of basic education through capitation to be directly remitted to schools. And the reason why I'm drawing the attention of Kenyans to this prayer is because this is a double-edged sword. Honorable Speaker, if we go to the paragraph of the same motion, which quotes Article 43.1 and Article 53.1b, it is clear that basic education is enshrined in our Constitution already as a right, that every child in this country must have basic education as a right. What we need to do is not to reverse the progress we have already made in terms of decentralization of bursaries and try to reinvent a wheel of remaking basic education in this country. What we need to do, if every child in this country, if we ensure as a house that appropriates funds, if we make sure that every child in this country has enough capitation, and we increase the funding for capitation to the Ministry of Education because they're already dealing with capitation, then we can achieve the dream of basic education in this country. And the reason why I'm calling it a double-edged sword is because, one, the reason why we've had the decentralization of bursary in the first place, there's a history to it. It was a question of trying to deal with marginalization, which was already in place, where students from poor families, particularly those from rural areas, were not able to access any scholarships or any fundings that were being administered from the Ministry of Education. Secondly, the funds we are talking about, whether they are NGAF, whether they are NGCDF, constituency bursary, ward, or county government, are not only funding basic education. We are covering even university students. We are even covering students in private universities, which is not covered under this motion. And I must say, and I've always said, we have students in private universities who are not private Kenyans. These are Kenyan citizens like other students, and they also benefit from this bursary. So trying to, reverse the decentralization of bursary so that we can fund basic education, I think is defeatist, and it's a matter that we need to oppose, and I really oppose. We should focus more, I think, as an advice to the sponsor of the motion, Honorable Esther Passaris, we should focus more on how to make free education a reality, given that we already have the goodwill and the support of the provisions in the Constitution, that is Article 43.1 and Article 53.1b. And the fact is, as many members have already said, the Ministry of Education already has a lot of things that they're supposed to do, including development of infrastructure countrywide. We know the chaos that are there, and we don't think we need to add them more burden, which they already have no capacity to deal with the other functions, and we add them more functions, which will be promoting them to more inefficiency. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Timothy Toroitich, member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for granting me an opportunity to contribute on this very important motion. From the onset, I wish to thank the Honorable Passaris for this motion, but Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I have certain reservations for it. Honorable Speaker, is broken. My answer is no. Do we have challenge in the system? The issue here, the elephant in the room is the issue of duplication. Whether it is offered through the presidential bursary or through the NGCDF. Honorable Speaker, the issue is there is a problem with the issue of duplication of bursary. Honorable Speaker, how do we fix? We cannot fix the broken system by consolidating the bursary to the Ministry of Education. Honorable Speaker, what we need to do as a House, this is Parliament. We make law. The best way to fix it, let us develop a system where duplication shall be avoided, so that when one student is given through the presidential bursary, then the same cannot be duplicated by NGCDF. Honorable Speaker, the other issue is this. We have to respect the Constitution in this country. Honorable Speaker, under the 4th schedule of the Constitution, pre-primary function is a function of the county government. Pre-primary is a mandate of the county government. Why should the county government in this country be allowed to give bursaries to those in secondary schools, colleges, and universities? That is the function of the national government. And for that reason, Honorable Speaker, what should be done? We should align resources, follow functions. We should align our bursary system so that bursary that is given by the county government, which is illegal and unconstitutional, let it be taken to the national government and be managed by CDF. Honorable Speaker, if there is a system that is working, and it is unfortunate that the court made a declaration declaring CDF as a nullity. And Honorable Speaker, even as you speak of CDF in this House, as a lawyer, I know that we are in the winding up period because we have been given up to 2026, unless we appeal. And of course, I don't agree with the decision of the court, although I respect, because one of the most efficient system of managing bursaries in this country is the CDF. We've never had major audit queries by the Office of the Auditor General in respect to bursaries managed by CDF. Honorable Speaker, I have read the report, the Senate PIC report on bursaries offered by the county governments. Honorable Speaker, there are serious audit issues that have been raised in respect to bursaries that are managed illegally and unconstitutionally by the county governments. Bursaries which should be managed and run by the national government through the NGCDF. Honorable Speaker, I stand to oppose the motion that intends to consolidate bursaries in this country. And I've said the system is not broken.
Order.
What we need.
Order. I'll give you a minute. Something is happening on row 3, on my right. I think it must be very interesting, but please, can you just reduce? Member for Mukordikri, with your team, please. You have 1 minute to conclude. You have 1 minute to conclude, member for
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I've said, I respect the Honorable Member for Nairobi, and but I've said the system is not broken. The only thing we need to do is to reshape what we currently have. Let us align what we have with the Constitution. Let us do away with bursaries that are managed by the county governments, and let it be managed by the national government through the NGCDF, which of course I believe that the appeal that we shall make on NGCDF will go through, so that NGCDF is finally entrenched in the Constitution, and those bursaries that are outside.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Geoffrey Mulanya, member for Nambale. Not in the House.
Yes, present, Madam Speaker.
You may proceed.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute this particular motion. As debated by my colleagues, Madam Speaker, I wish to congratulate the Honorable Passaris for bringing forth this motion for debate in this House. Indeed, it's true that we have various bursaries in this country that lead to duplication, whereby some people benefit more than others, while others miss out completely. However, Madam Speaker, we take the route of amalgamating these particular bursaries to put the fund into one consolidated fund and place it under the management of the Ministry of Education will be making steps backwards. Because we realize the gains made by the NGCDF bursaries, that it has brought equality in this particular country. Madam Speaker, we appreciate that from the introduction of the NGCDF, we have had so many day secondary schools in this country. In each and every area of the Republic of Kenya, we realize that almost every primary right now has a secondary school that has been built by the NGCDF. And following that, we find that majority of the beneficiary of the bursaries disbursed by the members of parliament through NGCDF are students attending the day secondary school. Majority of Kenyans who are able to afford school fees for their children, they normally take them to the boarding schools. So when we say that we amalgamate this particular bursary with the other funds and then place it under the Ministry of Education, which is even unable to release capitation fund to these very, very day schools, because you will meet, if you talk to the members of parliament, every time they meet the principals of these schools, they face the problem of release of capitation of these particular schools. So, Madam Speaker, the only thing that we need to look at this particular moment is regulation as a house. How can we regulate so that we have proper legislation to control the issue of duplication, so that when one beneficiary gets from the member of parliament, he should not get it again from the Minister of Education. Madam Speaker, we will not, as my colleague, the Honorable Tretici mentioned to this particular house, that we found that one of the areas that we are talking about duplication, we have the ward level by bursary, we have the county bursary, yet under the Schedule 4 of our Constitution, education, basic education is a function of the national government. the county government responsibilities under the constitution is pre-primary education. But they have abandoned their primary duties and now also jumped into offering the function of the national government. We will note from the ruling of the court last Friday when they declared the NGCDF Act unconstitutional. One of the reasons they cited was the fact that the NGCDF function is attempting to delve into functions which are supposed to be devolved. For instance, sports and the environment activities. So, if indeed the functions of education are left for the national government, then we must have the money for bursaries just limited to the national government, and the county government, the money that they are channeling for these bursaries forwarded to the Ministry of Education so that it can be disbursed to the needy student. I tend to oppose this particular motion. Madam Speaker, thank you for that.
The Honorable Martin Owino, member for Diwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm so grateful to my friend, Honorable Esther Passaris. She means well. She wants children to go to school free because we have said in our constitution of free education. That is very, very well understood. The problem is, and that's why I respectfully oppose this motion. The fact is, we say what we don't mean and we mean what we don't say. That's the problem in this country. I think Honorable Kiari got it very well when you said you can even use a microscopic lens to see what the National Education Ministry does in our constituency. Almost nil. If there is, it's delayed full time. Madam Speaker, as we speak now, the only person who knows the vulnerable segment of our population is a member of parliament. The way I did mine, which also involved full public participation, going to each and every polling center and inviting opinion leaders and those who matter in that constituency, and asking them, who do you think we should take? They give you the list themselves. Some even tells you, no, instead of taking this child, take so-and-so's child, because mine is a bit better. There is nothing better you can get more than that. So I don't know what it is in this country that what is working well, we are not even making better. Instead, we come with other issues that dilute what has been working. But it is clear to me, Madam Speaker, you cannot do something the same way, same time, and you expect a different outcome. It doesn't work. If we were to put all these funds together, we as MPs, the national CDF is not a county, it's not a devolved function. I think one member also got it very right. I think it's scary again. This is a decentralized fund. It's not a devolved fund. So once you have decentralized, how come you bring it back to the mother? Maybe ladies can tell us, when a child is born, you cannot take it back to the womb. You kill the child. It was taken from the national kitty of the Ministry of Education because it was not functioning. Madam Speaker, as we speak now, all the infrastructure, I've never seen, even latrines are collapsing. It is CDF. There is no emergency response for the National Education Ministry in all our constituencies, and this is 290 constituencies we are talking about. The best way to decentralize funds is to use our constituencies, and it is the right thing to do. So, Honorable Passaris, even if we are opposing this, I think maybe translate this motion into a bill that will put all these monies flying everywhere into national CDF. Then we will achieve what we want. Because right now we say there's free basic education, there's none. If children are facing what we call revolving doors, they are in school today, they're out tomorrow. who meets even the fare to take them home and back, is member of parliament. Lastly, I want to say, the Ministry of Education, sadly enough, is overwhelmed with what we call geopolitics, nepotism, inequitable distribution of resources. That's why there was a genius initiative to have this money be spread across all the 290 constituencies. And that should be perfected, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I didn't see you coming in. So that should be perfected. We should not be regressing again to what was not working for Kenyans. So I submit that I oppose and respect Honorable Passaris for bringing this motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi niweze kuchangia mswada muhimu sana wa kuhusu mambo ya elimu. Kwanza nimpongeze Mheshimiwa Passaris kwa sababu alifanya hilo akitaka watoto wote wasome waweze kupata elimu ya bure. Ingawa kitu hapa naweza kukosoa ni kwamba ni ule mfumo ambao ameutaka yeye, kwa sababu haya mambo yamejaribiwa katika taifa hili kuwa na mfuko mmoja katika sehemu moja, na hiyo ndio imesababisha kuzorota kwa taifa zima. Hata sehemu zingine unaanza kusikia kwamba zinasema sisi tuko nyuma, wale wako mbele, kwa sababu ya mfumo wa zile fedha kuwa katika sehemu moja, halafu wanagawanya kwa vile wanavyotaka wao, zinakuwa zinagawanywa kisiasa, zinakuwa zinagawanywa katika mpangilio ambao si wa sawa. Lakini ikiwa pesa zitakwenda mashinani, ni kwamba kila sehemu itaweza kupata nafasi ya kuwapatia mgao huo ufadhili kwa wale watu wanaohusika. Na ni vyema sana ikiwa Mheshimiwa Spika, itabidi unilinde na hawa wanazungumza hapa, ni kwamba zile fedha zikienda mashinani zitasaidia.
Waheshimiwa mlioko karibu na Mheshimiwa Bedzimba, Mheshimiwa Chome na ndugu yangu kutoka Taita, msizungumze na sauti kubwa, mpeni nafasi ndugu yenu na pia changie mjadala huu. Endelea Bwana Bedzimba, Mheshimiwa Bedzimba.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa ulinzi huo, kwa sababu hawa wacha nisiwasemee tena. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba hizi fedha kama zingelikuwa tangu wakati wa kubuniwa kwa taifa hili wangelikwenda vizuri, haya mambo yote shida zisingekuwa. Hata kusingekuwa na sehemu yote inaosema kwamba sisi tumewekwa nyuma, wale wamesonga mbele, ama hapa hakuna barabara, ama hapa hakuna shule. Ni kwa sababu hapa mgao kutoka juu, ukiwekwa juu unashuka chini vibaya sana, unaenda kiubaguzi. Hata ndio sababu saa hizi hata kutoa dokumenti zingine ama stakabadhi zingine kama pasipoti ama lolote zimepelekwa katika sehemu tofauti, zilipokuwa hapa ilikuwa ni uzito. Kwa hivyo ni kwamba hizi fedha zende chini na mahali pa kwenda ambako kutaweza kusaidia zaidi ni katika hazina za CDF. Ikiwa mjumbe ataweza kupewa hizi fedha, aongezewe na kuwe na taratibu ya kwamba zile shule zilioko katika eneo lake, asijali wale watu kama ni wapiga kura wa wapi, asijali watoto hao wanatoka wapi, au atalipa zile school fees yote pale, na mwingine naye alipe yote kule, na mwingine alipe, kutakuwa shida hii itapungua. Lakini kama tutaweza kuchukua hizi fedha tuzilete tena katika sehemu moja, nina hakika watu wataumia zaidi. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia kuna hazina nyingi za kifedha ambazo zinahusiana na mambo ya ufadhili wa shule ama karo, lakini watu mashinani hawajui watazipata vipi, hawajui wata-apply vipi, hawajui watakaribia vipi. Mahali wanapojua ni pale pale tu karibu kwa mjumbe, kwa mama women rep, hapo karibu na yeye ndio anajua. Kwa hivyo hizi fedha zote zitolewe huku Nairobi. Angalia Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna fedha ambazo katika wizara wanapewa ambazo wanatakaniwa wajenge majengo za shule, lakini hakuna jengo linajengwa kutoka wizara. Jengo ukiangalia hii imejengwa na hazina CDF, ukiangalia hii imejengwa na gafu, ukiangalia hii ni sisi wenyewe ama NGCDF ndio inaojenga mashule, lakini hakuna wizara. Hata juzi walituahidi kwamba watatupatia madarasa mawili kila mtu, sisi tuongeze tuweke fedha tujenge na wao watatupa. Hakuna hata moja ambao wametoa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo mimi nimesimama hapa kupinga mapendeleo yale ambayo yako, lakini tunataka elimu iwe kwa watoto wote, maskini na matajiri, kwa sababu ni haki ya kila mmoja Mkenya awe atapata elimu. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama hapa kusema kwamba fedha zile zipelekwe kwa mjumbe, zipelekwe mashinani ili kusudi watoto wasome. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mheshimiwa Bidi Tubi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this important motion. Mr. Speaker, I'm not for the idea presented by Mheshimiwa Passaris, with all due respect, because she meant well. Yes, because there's a lot of money is hanging in the country here and there, and she wanted all these monies to be somewhere so that our children should go to school. Well, but the matter here is that we have the national government, yes, the national government where she wants all the monies to go. Already the national government is supposed to give capitation to schools. And all those monies, they are supposed to be, per kid is supposed to be 20-something thousand per kid. But that money has not been reaching exactly what was given out as a capitation to the schools. And during the last rains, El Nino, we had a lot of schools which were swept away. In my constituency up to today, there are areas where children are learning under trees. National government is not coming in, and that is the function of national government. So we cannot burden, again, the same national government. What was given out from national government to NGCDF is seen everywhere that is functioning well. Mr. Speaker, when we came into Parliament last time, and I'm first timer, I agreed with my governor that we should have I will pay for my constituency, he pays for universities, he pays for all others. Up to today, mine is seen on the ground. But up to today, nothing, no payments from the governor is coming to the children in the county. That bursary fund is used in other ways, not for the purpose of students in the county of Ethiopia. So we will be more safer when we give all the monies to the members of parliament, going by examples of what has happened already from NGCDF. So we cannot go back again and risk ourselves, giving out to the national government or anybody else. Whatever is collected, I agree with members who have proposed that we take even those ones which are in the governor's account to the NGCDF so that members of parliament can be able to manage it. And it has been proven that members of parliament can be able to do that better off than anybody else. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable MP for Turkana Central, followed by Honorable Mohammed Ali, and then followed by the MP for Karachuonyo. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to thank Honorable Passaris for bringing up this motion, but in the same measure, I want to oppose. Honorable Speaker, we have a failed policy. We have a system that has already failed us. That will be the issue. We may be able to consolidate, amalgamate, but still fail to deliver, as it is happening. Honorable Speaker, I am a beneficiary of the school equipment scheme. a Kenya school equipment scheme that used to happen in the 80s. Number two, Honorable Speaker, if it were not for a Rambes, and if it were not for a family friend, whom I will call a father, Honorable Emmanuel Imana, I would not have been here today. And so, Honorable Speaker, it defeats all the odds to say we must consolidate these funds. Already, help is not doing well. The new one called Higher Education Fund is also not doing well. Honorable Speaker, capitation is not also doing well. There is the Presidential Secondary Schools bursary not doing well. There is also the School Equipment Production Unit not doing well. There is also the school feeding program that is also not doing well. Where is the problem? We must understand this. And so when we want to say we want to consolidate, why are we not delivering properly in those other systems or in those other funds that are already granted to the Ministry of Education, Honorable Speaker? And therefore, Honorable Speaker, there is the fear of the unknown. And as at now, honorable members in this House, the MPs, are helping their voters or constituency members to go to school because they know where they stay, they know whom they are, and they can easily sympathize with the situation on the ground. And Honorable Speaker, all in all, this is a momentous time where I will still call back Honorable Passaris to reconsider her motion and take it back to government so that government can be able to tell us what has been the problem. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is a premature motion. It has to be reconsidered. We must engage with government and tell government that please, we are not delivering as required. And therefore, we are not ready to surrender even the small bursaries that are delivering the benefits to our people back to the Ministry of Education, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that yes, we hold government responsible. But on the other side, this government must be able to add more funds to NGCDF. Because as at now, we have some Form 4 students, Honorable Speaker, who have been sent back home. They are still staying at home. And I must say that without a reconsideration of us helping to increase this, then we may not be able to deliver as required. Otherwise, we may not, the dream on free education is not yet there. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Muhammad Ali, but before you take, let me recognize the presence in the gallery and welcome students from Beth Mugo High School, Dagoretti South. You're welcome, the Honorable MP for Dagoretti South. I'm giving you exactly 1 minute. To also welcome your own constituents into the...
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to welcome this very great school in our constituency. As you have said, it is named after a very great daughter of our constituency, the Honorable Senator Beth Mugo, who served her term in this parliament